Mak Rutkovsky, and I'm a Kahoot ambassador in Ukraine. Today, when I was thinking about what to do and how to do, I wanted to share something that many people overlook. I wanted to share something really interesting with you, and this is my personal experience. So I'll start my presentation right now. I'm a strong believer that every Kahoot I run is a basically blueprint for learning, and it's not just a quiz. I'm a Kahoot ambassador in Ukraine, and I help educators in purposeful game-based practice during a period of, well, in Ukraine, constant disruption. And unfortunately, it's true that when classes can shift online at any moment and in a second. I'm also a vice principal at Ukrainian Global School. I'm using Kahoot for myself, and I'm supporting my colleagues across all subjects. And today I'd like to share my personal experience on how to turn your routine lesson planning into an impactful and recognizable teacher brand through structured Kahoot design. Let me ask you a quick question. What students do remember about the school when they graduate? Is it worksheets? Probably not. The textbook? Not really. What they remember is you. They remember your energy, they remember your voice, they remember the way you're making them feel curious, challenged, and confident. We're living in an era where presence matters. Musicians, well, they have Spotify's. Writers, they have Substract. And teachers, we do have Kahoot. Because Kahoot, it isn't just a quiz platform. It's your teaching signature. It's a tool that can help you design, share, and amplify the way you teach. And today, I want to show you how you can use Kahoot, not just to boost engagement, but to build your personal teaching brand. You have seen the video, right? It isn't about self-promotion. It's about creating a meaningful, recognizable learning experience and doing it intentionally, consistently, and publicly. So let's break this down. What is a teaching brand? Well, obviously, not logos, not cool videos on TikTok, not interesting YouTube videos. A teaching brand is the recognition of your personal pedagogical identity, because I believe that every teacher has a pedagogical identity, basically like our fingerprint. It's when students say, oh, it must be Mr. Max's quiz. He always tricks us on the third question. That's what I actually do. There's always a question with a trick that my students already kind of expect from me. It's when your colleagues open your Kahoot collection and say, wow, this is gold. I'm using it tomorrow. And it is when the school leadership sees your students are consistently engaged, improving, and talking about your lessons. That's what brand is. Brand is built when your teaching style is recognizable, your resources are reliable, and the most important, your voice is trusted. And the trust is you already have a brand. The only question is, are you shaping it, or is it forming by accident? Kahoot gives you a unique platform to take control, to turn your everyday practice into a consistent and high impactful experience. So let's be clear. You can't build a brand without content, right? In teaching, content is the product. Your Kahoot library is your curriculum fingerprint. That's what I like to tell to my teachers. Each quiz, each series, each course, each challenge tells the world how you think, how you teach, and how and what you care about. This isn't about vanity. That's what when I create my Kahoots, when I create media for my Kahoots, at first glance, some teachers say, oh, you're putting too many emojis of yourself, too many bitmojis of yourself. I say that my Kahoots reflects my values, my structure, my pedagogical goals. And the most important, that my students feel that, my colleagues recognize that, and that helps your impact to grow. Kahoot allows you to produce fast, smart, and scalable content, but only if you build with purpose. So, how do we do that? Let's walk through 5 essential steps. Each step will help you turn your daily lesson plan into brand building without adding extra hours. Kahoot AI helps us. Just a smarter design. My first suggestion is don't just reuse, don't just remix. Make your own Kahoots. Why? Because when your students play something you made with your examples, your humor, your question, it's memorable. They already know what kind of person you are. So when they see this in your Kahoots, they feel mm, they feel valuable. Your emotions, your humor, it carries your voice. For example from my English literacy class. So instead of generic vocabulary quiz or comprehension sessions, I create a Kahoot around the story we read in our textbooks. And one question could ask, what does the word defiant suggest about the character's mindset in paragraph 2? Another, which adjective could replace gloomy without changing the tone? Now, the quiz reinforces the context, not just definitions. It's aligned, specific, and personal. Science teacher can do this too. For example, take real lab data from your class, from your lab work that you have done, and build a quiz around the analysis. History teachers use student essays to create cause-effect puzzles. Math-based questions on common mistake your class made last week. Let them fix what they got wrong and basically celebrate that growth together. The point is that original content isn't extra work. It's strategic reuse of what you already teach. Every great teacher has a teaching accent. It's like when English language teachers understand me, yeah? When we read a story, when we write a story, we're talking about a voice of author. Basically, it's a rhythm, a voice, a method. What I try to say that your Kahoots should reflect that. Maybe your style is fast-paced and playful, or maybe it's slow, deep, and deliberate. Maybe you always open with a trick question, or maybe you use emojis in every answer option. That's me. Emojis everywhere. You need to establish that format. Stick with it. Personally, what I do, I switched my lessons to Kahoot. I use a three-phase model. I break down my Kahoots into 3 phases. First is warm up. Basically, quick recall, 5 questions, can be yes, no question or quiz, and we're done with it. Then, as we go, it's a challenge. 10 thinking tasks. My students analyze, my students reflect, and so on. Then we do meta round, 3 questions reflecting on strategy. And those 3 questions, they help me to sum up and wrap up my lesson when I get a proper report in the end and I can really reflect on my learning. And this structure becomes familiar. Students anticipate the phases. They learn the rhythm. Why students learn gamification? Why learn video games? Because when you put video game in a lesson, and your students know that mechanics, know the mechanics of quests, know the mechanics of tasks they need to complete because they know what to expect, they know what to do. If you use the same approach in your class, when you put them into phases they already know and they got familiar with, your experience will be different, trust me. And uh, the rhythm I chose, it became mine throughout all our classes I teach. And basically, it became the part of me and the part of how I teach. One suggestion: build series, not one offs. And it is a mindset shift. Don't think of quizzes, think in seasons. Think of it's like a TV show. If you are teaching a unit, break it down. And if you're teaching a unit, for example, on adjectives, don't make one Kahoot and put everything together. Make it a mini series. For example, episode 1, adjective basis. Episode 2, adjectives in content. Episode 3, descriptive writing challenge. And that creates narrative. And that's what students love. For my personal experience, I use Kahoot courses. I create a meaningful series of modules, and I call them episodes, where my students learn and go through information. Those are not just Kahoots that I use. Those are YouTube videos. Those are stories that Kahoot AI helps me to generate. Those are some documents I want them to go through. And of course, Kahoots for each season or each episode. So basically what you're doing is you're filling your portfolio that you can reuse, that your colleagues can reuse. And when students see that, when the students see the pattern that you're using from day to day, they know what comes next. They are prepared. The only suggestion, what I've noticed with my students, and then I've done small research around the school, is that do not use a long, boring videos. We are living in an era of TikTok. We're living in the era of YouTube Shorts. So when you're thinking about putting a YouTube video in your Kahoot or in your course, think about it and use the 30-second style, because nowadays generation of these kids, their brain is able to uh, take information and to grasp the information within 30 seconds. Everything past that, forget about it. So right now, Kahoot helps me to stay organized because I have my courses, I have my Kahoots, I have my stories. And basically, instead of reinventing, you're just iterating. And instead of starting from scratch, you're building an ecosystem. And once you have that series, it becomes reusable, adaptable, and shareable, the most important. So basically, that's a brand scaffolding. Running a Kahoot is not just press start and watch them play. I like to call it, an orchestration. And the real magic happens in how you use the moments between the question. From my personal experience, again, when I do the webinars for Ukrainian educators, I always try to share what worked for me. And with Kahoot, I like to say that the way you use the platform is the imagination is your limit. It can be adapted as much as you can. So my personal experience is when you get 90% wrong on a question, I do not proceed. I ask why. If needed, I show the media. If needed, I write on the board and we start the discussions. When the answers are split, we start debate. That's the perfect tool to kickstart, especially if you're ESL, EFL teacher and you want your children to use language. That's the great start to do that. When they're starting to debate, I want them to express themselves. I want them to prove their point. And that's the peer correct. And when somebody uh, scores and the only person gets correct answer, um, it's a perfect moment for peer instruction. I asked that person, come out, explain. I was working with one brilliant educator from Canada, Patrick McManus, and he told me one phrase that I still remember. I was a young educator back days. He told me, Max, remember, you can be a PhD, you can be the best educator in the world, but you never would explain a complex material to a student better than a student who understands it. So when I do Kahoot slides, I basically broke down, and we have a rule with my kids that we have 3 emojis. First emojis is heart. It means great, I got it all, and I'm able to explain what have I learned just now. The second emoji is thumbs up. It means I got it, but there is one question I would like to ask. The rule here on submitting those emojis, when you send thumbs up, the students should come up with a question. And I ask the person who understood, explain this to the person who has one question. And the last emoji, it was the shocked face, I think, is I completely do not understand. Then what I do after this, I put them in small groups and mix them and ask them, hey, explain this to your friends. And it works really good. So basically, Kahoot provides you data in real time. Use that to teach and use different modes. What I use is classic for recall, team mode for collaboration, accuracy mode for tracking growth, and slide and questions for full mini lessons. And trust me, those are real gems. You can build an entire lesson using Kahoot AI. Upload your presentation, use Kahoot as a platform to broadcast it. After the presentation is imported, ask Kahoot AI to generate questions to this presentation. And the best part is that the question will be added after the slide where the information for question was taken. That makes it interactive. You instruct and you teach about the information on a slide, and then right after the slide, your students get a question to check their comprehension. And in addition, in the end of the class, you're getting a full report with students' performance. Great, isn't it? So basically, your brand isn't just what you publish, it's how you facilitate with presence, pacing, and pedagogy. Every quiz you create is a digital asset, and don't let it leave in silence. After you teach, save the Kahoot to your library, download the reports, screenshot top moments, track class progress over time, cover the names, and share it in educator groups. Post it on your professional channels with online context, not because you want followers, but because you want impact. And each shared Kahoot says, this is how I teach. This is what I believe works. And when someone else saves it or adapts it, it means your brand grows. When your students see you praise them not only in class, but outside of it, it builds a stronger bond between you and your kids. I've had our school teachers congratulate my kids with their victory in challenging Kahoot grammar battles we hold every Friday. Like grade 7 student ran to me and said, Mr. Max, I felt so cool when Mr. V came up and told and congratulated me. And I see that spark in his eyes because he feels valuable, you know? He knows that something he does in my class, it extends beyond that. So this is a really, really good connection. Also, you might be thinking, okay, that's great, Max, but that's great for English. But what about my other subjects? So let's break the myth. Kahoot is for every discipline. That's what I try to teach to my colleagues here. And basically, what you just need is to map your content into interaction. For math, reorder equation with puzzle mode. Create spot a mistake questions with pin the answer. Visualize functions through image reveal. Geography is one of the best. Map quizzes with zoom images or pin the answer. Climate zones, sort by continent, landmark identification via slides, plus question. In science, what I tell my teachers is that label parts of a cell, cause and effect, what happens if, and use GIFs to show process. In art teacher was probably one of the hardest ones. They told me, Max, it's art. How do we use it besides like what this painting, who painted this picture or who painted that picture? And what we did is we adjusted the way they presented. Right now, they can identify style of an artist. They can match music clip to a composer. They can compare brush strokes or themes for many ways to use Kahoot. And the only limit is your imagination. Every class, every lesson plan can be adapted. With foreign languages, it's obviously easy vocabulary with images. Listening audio plus prompts. Kahoot does it. Input the text and it would read it for you. For advisory, we have like situation questions. What would you do if? Mood checks via polls like I'll show you a video later in the end of this Kahoot where we had a Kahoot day. Our entire school ran completely on Kahoot. No textbooks, nothing, just a gadget and a teacher with prepared Kahoot series. So, Kahoots, this isn't about tech for tech's sake. It's about making thinking visible, just like John Hattie say, yeah, thinking and learning visible, and that's what it does in every subject, in every class, every day. So why does this matter? Because our students, they just don't need just information. They live in a world where any sort of information is at their fingerprints. What they really need is connection. They need structure. They need to feel that school is, well, one of my students once said, I feel the school is just a factory. Well, we need to prove them wrong. We need to understand, we need to teach them using Kahoot that it's a place where teachers care enough to design experience with intention. When your Kahoots are tailored, sequenced, and facilitated and shared, students start seeing you not just a content deliverer, content giver, but as a designer of learning. And that's branding, not for ego, but for impact. And right now, if Kahoot team could help me and show the video, of our UGS Kahoot Day. I would really appreciate that because I wanted to share with you that experience of how it went, what it was, because the feedback I got from my students was just beyond belief. They all got super excited. They all got super, super happy. They just ran to me and said, Mr. Max, hey, when we're doing this? When we're doing this again? So that was our elementary school. That was our elementary school, and they lived the day through Kahoot. If you like, go follow UGS on Instagram and see the other days. And really, I'm a really strong believer that every teacher, every school can turn their education into something more. So let's come back to where we started. You already teach, you already design tasks, you already care deeply about your students' growth. Kahoot is simply a way to take that care, that craft, and scale it. So do not just use Kahoot, build with it, curate with it, reflect with it, and most of all, share it. Because when your students recognize your teaching style, when your colleagues start borrowing your ideas, when your classroom becomes known for engagement, clarity, and depth, that's no longer teacher. That's what I tell to all my teachers at school and my webinars. That's no longer just teaching, that's your brand. And it's time to own it.